welcome to the season premiere of Cardinal Film Fights. I am your judge and moderator, Mark Rollins. Today we have Jacob Gennon, Blake Connor, and Nevin Marketan, but before I go on and let them introduce themselves, I want to say if you came here for a certain fight, click in the description below. So, without further ado, let's hear from our contestants. Please give us your names, your majors, and what year you're in.
My name is Jacob Gennon. I am a senior, and my major is digital video and telecommunications.
Oh, okay. My name is Nevin Marketan. I'm a telecommunications major with minors in screenwriting and digital media. What was the other thing?
Oh, what year are you?
Oh, I'm a junior, and this is my 4th time fighting, so maybe I can finally win one.
We'll see.
It's all up to you.
And my name is Blake Connor. I am a junior, and I am a digital video production major with a marketing minor.
And then with us today, I just want to give a shout out to Von Storm. Yes, that is his real name. He is our fact checker today. And I want to give a shout out to Paige, who will be timing and scorekeeping for us. So today, for this film fight, we have 4 questions that I have arranged in a random order. Scoring is based by ranking, so the person in first place gets 3 points, the person in second place gets 2 points, and the person in third place gets 1 point. The last round gets double points for whoever's in first, second, or third. For this format, you're going to give a 60-second intro, which is basically you state what you chose and why you chose it, which will then be followed by a 5-minute forum in which our fighters will duke it out to reign supreme and get first, second, and third place respectively. That will then be followed by a 30-second conclusion where our fighters will kind of sum up their whole arguments and then kind of lay it out on the table, and then I will judge them because I am the judge. That's what I do. In the event of a tie at the end of the 4 rounds, there will be a speed round tiebreaker that I have developed in advance. So, without further ado, I like that word. I think that's the second time I say it, but I don't regret it. Ado. Okay, we're going to start with the best CGI character in a movie, and let's start with Nevin.
Okay. I chose Gollum. No, that's okay. I chose Gollum because he's a character built on greed, obsession, and he is living a pitiful existence. And Circus mustered an array of emotions to bring one of the ring's most scarred owners to life. And that's not a quote by me. That's from like Forbes or something. I don't remember. But basically my point is that through all the CGI characters that were chosen, I feel like mine is the most in-depth and complex. There was a lot that went into the making of Gollum, and so yeah.
Awesome. I'll go to Blake then.
So, for the CGI character that I've chosen, my favorite CGI character, and I think the best CGI character is Caesar from Planet of the Apes. And I say this because, well, first of all, he was also played by Andy Serkis, who played Gollum. Caesar, I believe that he has a great character arc. From his humble beginnings as just a regular monkey to the revolution starting starting ape he becomes at the end of all of this. Pretty much the work that went into creating Caesar, it's some of the most mind-blowing CGI that I think I've ever seen. It is the pinnacle of CGI. Ape strong together.
And
together strong.
Thanks for not ending on a preposition there. Really appreciate that. I'll take that into account. Not really. Then Jacob.
Yeah, so I think the best CGI character is Sonny from iRobot, the movie with Will Smith, where robots are bad. And Sonny, I picked him because, one, I think the CGI looks clean. I think bad CGI takes a character out of a film, and I thought this movie did a fine job of making him realistic. I think for the plot, his character, or like the plot essentially revolves around Sonny as a character and kind of the discovery of like the malfunction within him and how he responds to that and interacts with everyone else in the world of iRobot. Essentially, the story can't happen without him, and there is a clear arc of how Sonny interacts with the humans once he can freely like act on his own.
Okie dokie. Now we'll start our 5-minute open forum, starting now. So who wants to start it off?
Okay, I'll go first. So one thing I want to point out is that Gollum is completely CG. I feel like he has a lot more like if you want to call it character, than any of the other CGI characters, because like now Caesar does have character and Sonny does as well, but I feel like they aren't very dynamic. There's not a lot of change there. Whereas Gollum, you literally see on the few minutes that he's on screen, you see that change in the battle with himself all the time. Now yes, Caesar does literally change, but once he gets to that stage, there's no more development. And with Sonny changes as well, but like once you get to that point of where Sonny is intelligent in the way he is, you don't get any more movement forward from that. So that was one of my biggest things. Couple other things. Pace Magazine and The Richest have Gollum both as the best CG character of all time.
I would argue that the character development for Gollum, although strong, is not as strong in the films as you might believe, because I believe a lot of Gollum's character comes from Smeagol, which is who he once was, that is not entirely established in all of the films. We don't see all of that. We see a little bit. We see some insight, but a lot of it is built upon things that we're not necessarily shown, but have to sort of come up with on our own and that sort of thing. I believe in this case, Caesar is a better choice for this because we see all of this change. We see from the very beginning, from here until now. When we first stumble upon Gollum, he's already changed. He's already a twisted character. He does have a character arc, but it ends ultimately the same. It's not a redemption arc. It's a failed redemption arc, in my opinion.
I'd have to disagree because you're bringing up Smeagol, which I don't think Smeagol's important here because I'm not debating, because Smeagol it's the same guy, but it's a different character because it's a completely different person. But my point here is Gollum's arc. I'm not talking about Smeagol. Gollum's character doesn't come from Smeagol. Gollum is who Gollum is because of the rings, and I'm talking about Gollum's growth, not necessarily with Smeagol. So I don't think Smeagol's the idea of who Smeagol was should impact on whether that impacts Gollum's arc as a character.
I understand that.
I'm gonna interrupt. Let's hear some from Jake.
I'm boiling.
Well, stop. No, just
So full disclosure, I have not seen Lord of the Rings, so I cannot speak for or against Gollum, but from the people that I have talked to that have seen it, it seems like Gollum's role in the plot of the film is to relay information. Is that true?
I would say that's fairly true.
Yes.
Is that
hero's journey?
Yes.
Okay, so that means that his part is like easily replaceable. Like information can be relayed any other way.
Correct.
This is true, and I see where you're going with this point.
Shred the argument.
I don't know. I'm just wondering, if he's not necessary, then why is he the best?
I don't think we're debating who the most important CG character is. It's just who is the best. So I don't think the best is determined by how important the role is in the movie, which I know that's where you're going with Sonny. Is like Sonny was without Sonny you couldn't have the movie, which is true.
And Caesar.
And Caesar as well. So, but my point isn't. The point shouldn't be that these people are important to the structure of the film, but rather, why is this character the best? So I want to hear why Sonny is better than Gollum and Caesar,
because
without using that logic.
Sure. So Sonny, the character arc for one, you get a full close. You know how he starts and you know how he ends. I think for Caesar that it's the same thing, except over the course of 3 movies,
which is inherently we get to see a little bit more
every time. Sonny's like
an
an open and closed book within the 2-hour movie. Gollum seems to me like a flash in the pan in terms of CG characters. I know he was like the first CG motion track character that was good.
Yeah.
And that's exciting, but
another thing with
I don't
Gollum
know.
too is that they created an entire new system so they could get muscle movements. They redid the way scattering, I can't remember what it's called, something scattering, so the skin, because skin doesn't, it absorbs some of the light, so they, even going outside of the actual character itself, but talking about the technicalities of how they built the character, Gollum was something that was on the lines of, you could also go on the lines of Avatar with Neytiri, and it was completely game-changing in that factor as well, so yeah. And we're just going to watch it tick down.
3, 2, 1. Okay, so we're going to do our 30-second sum-ups. We'll start with Blake.
So essentially, my point with Caesar being the greatest is I think that his character was honestly throughout the three films, it was revolutionary. Seeing, especially the CGI growth. In the first movie, it's great. It's not incredible, but by War for the Planet of the Apes, Caesar is an intimidating force. It is an impressive usage of CGI. His character arc is great, and I think he's great.
Caesar for president.
So, yeah.
Nevin?
So I want to reiterate that I think Gollum is the best CGI character because I think there's stronger character development because think of who Gollum is as a character. Like he's gone through a lot, and but like I said, that's not the important. The important part is that he's having this debate with himself, but also the use of CGI and the technology that they used in order to create him visually. There's 20,000. They use 20,000 actual hairs to make the skin and scattering all this stuff. So that's yeah.
And Jacob.
So I think Sonny's the best character, CGI character, because you see his full character development. He's faced with decisions that test the character values that he has learned throughout the film, and he ultimately makes a decision that affects the plot.
Okay.
What a summary.
Listen.
I still hate
I'm
you.
really good at these.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get some feedback from, let's see. Nick, what do you think? Says it all.
I mean, if I had to give it to one person, I'd give it to Nevin. His argument was the strongest. He had most of the attacks come at him. I just kind of feel like everybody's argument kind of got lost in what's best, like the technology or the character. So it's kind of hard to tell.
I feel that.
I would give the win to Nevin.
I feel that. Morgan, let's hear from you. Oh, okay. Or maybe.
I don't know. I think everyone argued very, very well.
Oh.
But who's the best?
It was me, right? Me. Yeah.
Okay. I think I do have to agree with Nick on this one. Nevin, I will give you first place because you did have the most attacks come at you, but you also did a lot to defend them as well. And it does come down to perspective of whether it's the actual technology or the story. And Gollum does, I feel, have a strong story behind him as well, technology. I'm going to give second place to Blake because I feel that Caesar's story has also evolved really well over 3 movies. And Jacob, I just didn't hear enough about Sonny during the actual
He
argument.
just doesn't like you.
That,
It feels personal.
yeah, yeah. And your eyebrows are stupid. No, I just I feel like you had a good argument. It never got fully explored. And so
Sure.
yeah.
Speak up more. Really don't.
No, I like
Kind of
pointing out all of your
yelling.
flaws
Thanks.
rather than
So
creating
awesome.
my own.
So for this round, first place goes to Nevin, second place to Blake, third place to Jacob. Okay, so next question. Since we're talking about computers and stuff, I thought we would segue into which video game character would you like to see get a film or TV series? For this one, let's start with Jacob.
So the video game character I want to see get a film or TV series is Sora from the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I think so. I have not played all of the games because I believe there's around 9 or 10. But I think Sora. Okay, I don't want to argue for Sora. I want to argue for the world that he is a part of. Sora's character development is pretty basic. He's like fish out of water archetype. Gets thrown into this world, and he has to kind of figure out what the deal is. But the world is and how the whole dreams work and your soul and memories, it's all very Christopher Nolan-esque, and I think it could create a very good story if written correctly. And the whole thing would be funded by Disney because it's a Disney company video game. So there's no way it could go wrong.
Let's go to Nevin.
I doubt that.
Okay, so I chose Nathan Drake from Uncharted. I think this would make a really good. He deserves a movie the most. One, because his character, if you've played the games, you see a lot of development through him. You see how he changes a lot like Lara Croft. They're very similar in a lot of ways, and Lara Croft had her own movies. Whether they're good or not, I'll let you decide. But I think he deserves a movie because of that, and also because it would have a lot of mainstream appeal, not only because of its following, Uncharted has a cult following. So, but also because of the type of story that's being told in a lot of the video games, I think that would translate really well into a large scale production film. So, yeah.
And then Blake, let's hear yours.
So I believe the video game characters, because they are a duo that deserve a movie, are Ratchet and Clank. Full rebuttal. They do have a movie that came out, but it sort of trampled over the source material, which is what I'm arguing for a second movie. First of all, they have a well-established audience already. People my age from when the PlayStation 2 games originally came out in the early 2000s, and just middle schoolers alike, essentially. It's got grand source material to pull from, honestly, because it's just a very comedic, very cinematic game that would translate very well to cinema if they follow the source material, unlike they did in, I believe, the 2015 movie. It's got the Insomniac studio backing behind it. They've already proved that they can do beautiful animations. If they could just stick to the storyline, I believe that it could be an incredible video game movie. One of the first to go above, I believe, 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. You can fact check that. I'm pretty sure no video game movie has gone above 40% ever.
It was at above 40?
No, I'm saying this one would be.
Oh,
So,
Guaranteed.
oh, okay.
So let's go to our 5-minute free-for-all.
Yeah. I actually have here with me Exhibit B that I would like Blake to open and show to the cameras.
Can I just tear this?
Do it. I don't. Yeah.
I think this
That
is the
didn't work.
first time
That was
we've had
dumb.
evidence submitted on a Cardinal film fight.
I just want you to
Fact check
remember
me on that,
that
Paul.
the Ratchet and
I'm
Clank
well
movie
aware.
already exists
No.
and it did poorly
No,
and
I
would
am-
not do well again.
I am well aware. No,
It's
that
a-
is not true.
It has
Okay,
a
listen,
17%
listen,
on
listen,
Rotten
listen,
Tomatoes.
listen,
A
listen,
17%.
False. False.
That is a no.
No, that's not. That could be true. But what I'm
that's
saying,
an actual fact.
yes.
Not
What
an
I'm saying,
alternative
what
one.
I am implying with this, Ratchet and Clank, this movie, I will agree, is god awful. Okay, the animation style is gorgeous.
I
The
will agree with that.
character development is trash. The original game was about consumerism and how it is bad. The original game is about how consumerism is essentially turning people into mindless drones. This game turns Ratchet into a Boy Scout. He is a hot-headed mechanic in the original game that grows to love his robot companion Clank. In this movie, in this film, they are a couple of mindless, faceless plushie sales that interact maybe once throughout the whole film. And all I'm asking for is a fair chance that follows the source material instead of trying to sell toys.
But why? Okay, we don't need to talk
Yes,
about it
no,
anymore.
no.
Why does Ratchet and Clank actually like? Why
Why do they deserve a movie?
Why do they deserve a movie?
Ratchet and Clank deserve a movie because they have an incredible story to tell. It is a buddy story that is very satirical. It pokes fun at a lot of higher up issues in a way that kids can understand. Maybe not necessarily interpret. Some of the games actually tackle consumerism. Some, I believe, tackle race issues. In the third, it's just these very heavy, hard-hitting subjects that are formed into just children's humor and just an incredible platform shooter. And the
So
humor,
Zootopia.
no. The humor in them also is just phenomenal, honestly. They're hilarious games.
I'm going to cut you off because I want to hear some more about Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. So the only understanding I have of Kingdom Hearts is a YouTube video titled "All of Kingdom Hearts Summed Up in 23 Minutes." It very much sped through everything that was happening, but I mean, it's like the themes in it are extremely like reminiscent of like if Christopher Nolan did a TV series on like their like Sora's relationship with all these people. He has a brother, he has a love interest, he has all these evil forces trying to interact with him, and he has to learn how to deal with them alongside Disney characters, which is just incredible. I don't know. There could be the storytelling potential for a world that deals with memory and dreams and your soul is just it's waiting to be made.
The problem with Sora is you're kind of limited because Kingdom Hearts has a following. It does, but it's very niche and it doesn't have a lot of large scale possibilities like Uncharted does. And also, even though Kingdom Hearts is Disney
Do we need
related,
another Disney movie? I mean,
well, and also having Kingdom Hearts go because the whole idea would be that Kingdom Hearts goes through different worlds. And a lot of people aren't going to want to go see the movie, even if it is Disney, that they can promote it as a Disney movie. They're not going to want to go see it because it's Sora. They're going to want to go see it because Tigger's in it and Mickey Mouse. They're going to go see it for the Disney characters, not for Sora. So I think you have a problem there. And like I said before, also, it doesn't have a lot of large-scale appeal because it's very niche. And Sora's a cool character. I really dig the idea of who Sora is. But Nathan Drake has a lot more depth and a lot more realism on
Ignore that.
Okay,
Raymond.
okay. And a lot more realism in who he is. A lot of people can identify with him more because he has very basic, not basic. He has very relatable traits that people can identify with, and also we've seen movies like the storyline seen in a lot of the Uncharted video games. It'd be cool to see a specific storyline aligned with one of the Uncharted movies. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out in a large scale actual film, and I think that he really deserves it the most because it has the most potential to be successful. Whereas Ratchet and Clank wasn't successful.
I would argue that the Uncharted games are already cinematic.
I agree. Yeah,
I would
cinematic.
argue that a game that's cinematic is already told essentially like you control a character in between several
But
movies.
this is the thing. This is why
I
it
don't
deserves
see the
characters.
need
Not everybody
for a
wants
film
to play the games.
with something
Everybody
like that.
deserves
Honestly,
to hear Nathan Drake's
everybody
story,
might
but no
deserve
one
to
wants
hear.
to. But listen. Everybody.
If you want to hear a story, you can play the game.
But that's what I'm saying. But not everybody wants to play the game. That's why his story
So
is.
why would anyone
I
want to
think
watch the
Uncharted is
movie?
Indiana Jones, the video game. I think it already exists and the story's already been told.
But think about how
Oh,
many fucking James
shoot.
Bond movies, type movies there are.
Think
Atomic
of how many
Blonde
Kingdom
just sold
Hearts
out.
movies there are.
Okay,
Oh, man.
so we'll do conclusions. We'll start. Let's see, who did I start? I started with Blake last time, I think, didn't I?
Yes.
Yes. So I'll start with Jacob this time.
Yeah, I think the world of Kingdom Hearts, including Sora in it, is well deserving of a movie or TV series, and I think the storytelling potential of it outweighs any pitfalls, I guess, from the niche community that it finds itself in.
Okay. We'll move on over. We'll do Blake second.
Okay.
Jump around.
So Ratchet and Clank, I believe, deserve a movie because they have a lot of heart and they have a story to tell. And although they've already had a story told, it was not the story. This had nothing to do with any of the original source material. It was completely fabricated to sell the new video game that they rebooted. I'm talking about a film about the classic, about the hard-hitting issues that are translated into middle school humor. I want to see these characters because they have heart and they have a lot of things to say.
And Nevin.
Okay, so with Sora, it'd be too difficult to transmediate into different worlds that is Disney. Also, and we've seen with Kingdom Hearts stuff, they haven't been able to stick to a storyline in their 9 video games they've had. Everything's been a spin-off. As for Ratchet and Clank, you're kind of limited on what you can do. It's limited to an animation, whereas where a Nathan Drake movie could go either way, animation or live action, which would be interesting to see.
Okay. Vaughn, you got any facts to check for us?
Yes. Okay. So, Blake, you said that no video game movie has ever gone over 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Guessing, yes.
There was actually a Final Fantasy movie in 2001 that got a 44%.
44%.
All right.
And then in
Okay.
2016, this other movie also got 44%, the Angry Birds movie.
That got 44%?
Yes.
Wow.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Ooh. Yeah, Nick. What's your thoughts?
I was gonna give this Nevin right up until Jacob said it's Indiana Jones, the video game, the movie. Nathan Drake is a very much an Indiana Jones styled character, so that kind of shot down Nevin's entire argument, and I would give the win to Blake.
Thank you, Jacob.
That's what that was.
I'm interested.
Yeah, Morgan.
Yeah, I give this one to Jacob as well. I think that he made good points because the other two was theirs have already kind of been made. And I love Kingdom Hearts, and I would love to see it made as a movie. And I like how he put that the world would really help it too, because it's not just Disney characters, there's a lot of other stuff.
Whew. Well, I gotta say this was a difficult decision, but we're gonna split the baby in half. You know,
What?
this is
That
the part.
sounds
We don't
No.
split babies in half here.
No, this is
what
the
kind
part-
of show is this?
This is the part where the true mother. Never mind. Okay, the true.
What?
Apparently, King Solomon. Never mind. Okay.
Like just a
Okay.
baby
Wow. No.
in half?
With a cleaver.
I'll explain it after the show. Anywho. So, I think, okay. I'm going to have to give first place to Jacob because he does have the source material behind him. Disney, I mean, it's basically a video game series about Disney films. And I think that there is the lore and the community there to support that. I'm going to give second place to Nevin because I think even though it is an Indiana Jones ripoff, he did make a good point in saying that there have been numerous like James Bond ripoffs to various successes as well, and that Jacob actually said that it's already cinematic.
Blake said that, not Jacob.
Oh, I'm. Oh,
It doesn't matter.
oh, Blake. That it's already. Sorry, Blake didn't want to. That since it's already cinematic, that actually helps it in that it makes a natural leap to movies. Blake, you made a really valiant effort for a remake of Ratchet and Clank, but I think since this only came out a year ago, this bad experience is still fresh in people's minds, and I don't think.
I think about it every night. I go to bed. I go, please God, not another Ratchet and Clank movie.
So I think maybe 10 years down the line, where we all forget about it, it may have a chance. So to reiterate, first place to Jacob, second place to Nevin, third place to Blake. Okay, so, and
That was
Blake.
a rough one, guys.
Yeah.
That was a rough one.
And now for my next great segue. Would you say Blake was feeling that Ratchet and Clank were very underrated characters? So now
Oh my.
we're gonna go. Yeah, I actually put a lot of thought of this when I thought of the question order. I put a lot of thought in this when I thought of the question order. Okay. So now we're going to most underrated film ever. Who haven't we started with? We haven't started with Blake. Awesome. So Blake, what you thinking?
1990. Ron Underwood, visionary, released the cult classic Tremors. It was about worms that came from under the ground and swallowed people.
Say that again?
Worms that came from under the ground and swallowed people, called graboids. The movie, with an $11 million budget, grossed $16 million. And the reason it's the most underrated film of all time, young Kevin Bacon, young Fred Ward, Michael Gross. It was family friendly, and it brought a face to the movie genre, monster comedy.
Underground worms.
It is my turn. It's got a 7.1 on IMDb, and I believe that it deserves more than that because that movie is incredible. It holds a special place in my heart, and it should in all of yours.
Okay. Next, let's go to Jacob.
Oh, I am so excited for this. So the film I think is most underrated ever is Speed Racer, 2008. The big deal with Speed Racer was it was the first anime adaptation that looked good. Like most Americanized Hollywooded anime adaptations are terrible, and for good reason. They don't usually stick to the style that made the anime so great, but Speed Racer did that. It stayed kind of with this style, and that's why a lot of people don't like it. But I think that's kind of why people see it as this like anime adaptation, so it's gross and bad. But it's the themes in it, the story elements. It's like classic family values. It's against big business. It's all about doing what you want to do despite all the odds. And the CG, the visual effects are excellent. It's just all around It's not the best film ever, but it is a film that is more deserving of the credit than it has right now.
And Nevin.
I chose the movie Her. I love Joaquin Phoenix, and I thought the concept of this movie was incredible. And when I first saw it, I was blown away. I think one thing that's important here is this movie has really good ratings. It has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 8.0 on IMDb. And so that may make you think that it's not underrated. However, I think the important thing to distinguish here is that it's underrated because if people ask you what the best film you've seen is, and if you ask like the best films of all time, and this will be up there, people will not think that this is up there, when in reality, an 8.0 and a 94%, that's really, really good. And so the fact that people don't think about that makes it underrated. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get to it then.
I have another exhibit here.
Wow.
Nevin, if you could please open this and show it to the camera.
Wait, why did you start with Exhibit B before Exhibit A?
I didn't know the order of the questions, Mark.
Oh, yeah, that's my fault. Yeah, sorry about that.
Can you please show that to the camera? Do you know who that is?
I do not.
That's Spike Jonze accepting the Oscar for Best Screenplay for Her in 2014. I just want to point out that It won from the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences. It won the best screenplay for the year. It is not underrated. It is a great film that has been well received. I also have here a list of all the awards it has won and was nominated for, spanning 15 pages long. I just want you to know, I don't think Her is underrated. I think it's a great film, and it has the credit that it deserves.
It's a great film, so take that.
That was that was good. I'll give you that.
So Tremors.
Yeah, just go for it.
It is a.
Just go for it.
I believe that it's underrated because, first of all, I've asked dozens of people, literally dozens, most of people that we work with, if they've seen Tremors, and most of them have never heard of it. And I think that, first of all, classifies as underrated. And second of all, the movie has to be amazing, which it is. The whole film is about, it focuses around young Kevin Bacon, a.k.a. Valentine in the film, who is essentially discontent with his life in small-town Perfection, Nevada. And he doesn't really know what to do with himself. He's just buddy-buddy with Fred Ward, a.k.a. Earl, and they just drive around fixing things in their truck until one day, giant man-eating worms.
So you're arguing the story to me right now.
I'm explaining it to you because you've never seen it.
I have seen Tremors.
You have seen Tremors?
Yes, I've seen Tremors.
What?
It was not a good film.
It was an amazing film.
It was. I think here's the deal. Both of your movies won, were in the positives at the box office. They won. They earned money. They
Deservedly
were in the positives.
so.
Yes. Speed Racer lost money and was rated at a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I believe that makes it a bad film.
I
subpar.
believe people have this this idea of it before they go in and watch it that turns them off to the anything good that could come of it.
What idea is that?
It's the themes are so present in other films that this is just a different version of those themes. They're not trying to create a radical new story. They're just telling a different one in a different way, and people don't like it. It's equivalent to Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Scott Pilgrim lost money in the box office. It was rated in the 70s on Rotten Tomato, and it's still this film that people love to love. I don't know. I just think, I don't know. Too many people have either not seen it or don't give it a chance for the wrong reasons.
I can understand
Making it underrated.
I honestly feel the same way about Tremors in some aspects because it does sound ridiculous. It does sound ridiculous. Worms coming out of the ground. It is ridiculous. But if you watch it, you'll understand. It is a family-friendly monster comedy. Is what it is. That was very dismissive. I want to hear legitimate points.
Acknowledge what that happened.
The allegations
like
that
I
are
said,
absolutely truthful.
I'll say it again. Yes, it was nominated for a lot. But like I said, it's underrated, and I'm basing this off of how society views it.
Which is in a high regard.
But just because it's won awards doesn't mean...
That means it's highly regarded.
That by
the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences.
But if I asked you the best movies, if it was on the best movie list of all time, would that come to your mind? No, it wouldn't, because that's not a movie you think of when you think of, oh, that was a great film. It crosses over people's minds.
I think you're making a large assumption on the mass audience's opinion.
Wouldn't you be doing the same thing about Speed Racer, though?
No, because it did not do well. It didn't do well.
Tremors didn't do well
either. You
either.
said that people went in with other preconceptions.
Yes, that is
You're assuming that.
Because it did happen.
Blake.
Yes.
Tremors.
I can pull out Exhibit A again.
Okay,
if you'd like.
No.
Yes.
It's underrated.
Yes.
And why is it underrated again?
Nobody's heard of it. A lot of
heard
people
of it,
have.
isn't it?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I know.
I've
I
talked
know
to
it's
quite a few
horrible.
people who have not heard of it. It's got a 7.1, which I believe it deserves much higher. It is a great story. Like I said, it brought a face
about
to
worms
the.
that eat people.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Your movie's about a man who marries his phone.
Okay, fair enough. All right. fair enough. All right. I can't really come back from that.
Mine's a
one,
heartwarming
man.
family tale about a man who wants to pursue his passion.
About a man who gets eaten by
It's
worms.
about a guy who races cars.
Yes, that's his passion.
Wow. Oh, okay.
That was
wow.
horrible. All of us did so bad.
Wow, that was Gotta give it applause. Okay.
Wow.
30-second conclusions. We'll start with Nevin.
Okay, like I said, I'm basing why I think it's underrated on the fact of how people view it and how the people that I've talked to have viewed it. So when I've said, I'm like, hey, what do you think about the movie Her? Oh, it was all right. People don't think it was good. When I have talked to people, that's what I'm basing this off of. Whereas when I hear Tremors, first of all, people don't normally say it's good. So there's the first thing. And Speed Racer, I'll give you that. It is underrated, but I don't think it's more underrated than. You go.
Okay, we'll go to Jacob next.
So I don't think Her's underrated. I think Tremors, Tremors may be underrated, but I don't think marginally it is as underrated as Speed Racer. It went positive in the box office. I'm pretty sure it's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know. Speed Racer a lot of people dismiss it, and I don't think they should. I think it's a great story with great visual effects.
Okay. And then we'll go to Blake, because he's the last one.
Tremors is I'll give you that. It is successful. It was a successful movie that was well regarded by a lot of people. It has a 7.1. I don't know if it's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes or not. And it has spawned 5 sequels. One is currently in development.
It is fresh,
yes. But I'm just saying that it is a great story that people need to see. It's a monster comedy. It's something ridiculous you don't see every day. And more people need to see things like that. Underrated.
Okay. Vaughn, do we have any facts to check?
Yes. So, Jacob, you said that Speed Racer is around the 60% range on Rotten Tomatoes. Would you believe it actually has a lower rating than the Angry Birds movie? 40%.
No, it doesn't.
It has a 40%.
Someone fact check the fact checker. And this is
I have
this is absurd.
I have it here. It's a 40%.
Okay.
Well, even
Wow.
more underrated than previously thought.
Okay.
Wrong.
Thoughts from the peanut gallery? Yeah, Nick.
Nevin lost.
Yeah.
It's all subjective. So.
Giant scroll.
But like I said, that's subjective. It's all subjective. So I viewed it subjectively differently.
You mean objective?
Objective, whatever.
No,
Your
he
film
means,
has
he
har-
means
your film has
subjective.
hardware.
Subjective.
Okay. Morgan, thoughts?
Yeah, I think Jacob took it because he had the most against everyone. I think Blake was a close second.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut the tension. Nevin, you lost. You lost. There are 15 pages of why you lost on the floor. Second place I'm gonna give to Blake.
'Kay.
First place I'm giving to Jacob because I think he really argued from the point of an underrated film and that it has a 40%. It lost money at the box office, but after hearing him talk about it, I kind of want to go see it now. Don't really know what it's about, but made me want to find out. Blake, I have heard of Tremors, and I want to go see Tremors now too, but it's made money and it's spawning sequels, so it's
Sequels were not good.
So the first
First
movie
is
about
underrated.
worms
I
coming from the ground
Okay, I need you to not patronize me right now. I need everybody in the audience to watch all 3 movies and then tell me which is the most underrated. And just send all the hate mail you can to Jacob Ginning. I'll provide his email address below. Let's go.
Here's
Okay.
our house code.
We live together.
Okay. Okay. So, we just got done talking about. Are you ready for the next segue? It's segueing.
Oh, God.
It's segueing. So, we just finished our discussion about the most underrated film. But now we're going to turn it around and talk about the best movie of 2017 so far. Now, before I start this round, I should let you know that everyone picked Baby Driver, and therefore we eliminated it.
Baby Driver was
Okay,
fantastic.
cool. All team. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they're agreeing now.
Not for long.
Yeah.
I hate everything.
Yeah. There we go. That's what we like to
Game
hear.
face on.
So, I think I've started with everyone. Is there anyone I have not started with for openers?
There were 3 questions.
Yeah, that's why I thought I started with
We can
everyone.
start with you, Mark.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Well, the reason you're not allowed to have Baby Driver is because I picked Baby Driver. So I won. There we go. No. We'll start with Nevin again.
Okay, so I chose Dunkirk, and I think Dunkirk deserves. I think it's the best movie of 2017 because I think it's the only movie that offers something different. Not in the sense because it is a war movie and you've seen war movies before, but I want to acknowledge that. But the fact that it tells a story that needs to be told in a unique way, whereas it has been done before. We've seen hundreds of movies like this, and I feel like Logan's just a money grab, although it does tell a good story. I would need sufficient evidence as to why it's better than Dunkirk. And I'll get to explaining why Dunkirk's better once we get to the 5 minutes, but yeah.
Okay, let's go to Blake.
So the movie I chose was It, and I believe that it was the best movie of 2017 behind Baby Driver, because it's honestly it's redefining horror right now. It's smashed box office records right now. It made $123 million on the hurricane weekend when people, probably weren't necessarily thinking about going to the theaters everywhere. It still smashed records with that. It told a story that, yes, you are right, it has been told before in the 1990 miniseries. It has been told before. But it had incredible child actors. I've not seen such phenomenal acting from children in a very, very long time. I believe it was the biggest R-rated opening of all time. I'm sure Vaughn will shred me if that's not true. And it didn't require any pre-existing knowledge going in. You didn't need to have seen any X-Men movies. You didn't need to know anything about Dunkirk, anything like that. I believe it was the greatest movie of 2017.
And Jacob.
So I chose Logan behind Baby Driver. I think Logan's the best film because, well, if we're thinking if money's your game here, it got $620 million at the U.S. box office, which was more than Dunkirk and It. Not exactly, not my favorite thing to argue, but what I like about it is it shows a beat-up superhero, and I don't think a lot of movies are doing that. I think superheroes are shown as superheroes, and they show that it's a big deal that they can withstand a lot. But Logan gets hurt; he's aching this whole movie. It's a big deal that we finally got an R-rated Wolverine movie. That's been waiting to happen, and it was a great way to kind of. Am I allowed to spoil things? Should I avoid that?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
it's a great way to close the book on Logan as a character, and I think this was like a great way to do it.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
Okay, so one thing I want to say about Dunkirk, because I just have a little thing right here. It's told from multiple perspectives. The sound design and score literally keeps you on the edge of your seat because of the way the score was done. Vaughn, can you remind me of what that's called? The thing?
Shepherd's Stone?
Shepherd's Stone, thank you. And it's about something real. It's a documented experience. It tells a real story. And one thing I like is that it doesn't have the cliche war movie things that a lot have. So, like, it doesn't have the thing like, oh, I can't wait till I'm home. You die. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have, like, vehicle problems at, like, the worst moment. It doesn't have those type of things. It's just very real, and it feels like this is a movie that we're going to be talking about years to come. This, like, that was a film that, like, that was the best one of the decade. That was the best of the century. This is one that we're going to look back in film classes 100 years from now and be like, that's a classic.
See, you said to me, It has been done before, but I don't think that argument can be made when Dunkirk.
I think you misunderstood what I was saying.
Oh, what were you saying?
So I was saying.
I heard you say It, but maybe you weren't
Yeah,
referring to that.
Yes, I was referring to it.
You mean Dunkirk? It?
No. What?
I have a point that makes sense. If you'd like to go.
Yeah,
So,
because
I
I'm
think-
so confused on what you're saying.
I think It is a great story. I think to argue that it's the best movie of 2017 is pushing it a little because I think it leaves too many questions unanswered for like the standalone that it. I know that there's going to be a sequel, but like
And the child actors. You said it's the best child. Stranger Things has by far the
One of
best
Finn
child
Wolfhard,
acting.
Mike from Stranger Things.
He's
is-
in it?
Yes,
I haven't seen it,
absolutely.
so I
Oh
wouldn't
no,
know.
they
Okay,
know.
then
They're
fair
all
enough.
in
Yeah, then
cahoots.
fair enough.
They've got good.
Stranger
kids.
Things is fantastic.
Nevin, I was a little concerned when you said that Dunkirk is a very real war movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think there are so many of those. I haven't
How
seen
do we know?
Dunkirk, so I can't argue specific
don't know
story
what war's
points,
like.
but like, I don't know. What's real to you? Why is it real?
It's real because, like I said, like it doesn't have those cliches. It doesn't have the things that are like and try to intensify it for no reason. It follows a story of things that like people actually did. It's doing something it's doing it in a way from multiple perspectives. So not only are you seeing the side of that day and days from this person, but you're seeing it from this person and this person. And it's a fresh new take on something that actually happened. Whereas Logan is. Like you said, yes, it's a film about a superhero when he's beat up, but it's something that no, we haven't seen that before. But it feels like it's just a way for Marvel to money grab and wrap things up in order to create the fandom going on even further.
I think if they wanted it to be a money grab, they would have made it PG-13 so more people could see it. But they chose to make it rated R to tell the story they wanted to tell. I also think, is what you described not Saving Private Ryan. Is that not, what are the differences?
Well, okay, then fair enough. What are the differences? Would you say Saving Private Ryan is a good movie?
Yes.
But then you're proving my point. My point isn't that I'm saying it's different from most war movies. I'm not saying it's different from all of them. Yes, but I'm saying it's also very different from Saving Private Ryan.
I'd like to take this chance to refute Jacob for Logan, because first of all, I don't think Logan can be the greatest movie of the year when it has so much that it's hinging upon already. I believe that Logan can stand as a standalone film, but I don't believe it has the same impact
That's
unless
also
you've
true.
seen the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
You can watch Logan. You can. I had not seen the X-Men movies, and I felt something. Logan was a great film. But what about the standing relationship between Logan and Professor X? You don't feel the
That's
connection between the two of them if you haven't seen some of these
Yeah,
movies.
you really have to see the other X-Men movies to understand that. Whereas it you don't have to, and you don't have to with Dunkirk. You
thing
don't have
with
to know
it-
anything about World War II to be able to understand
there's a book.
what's going on.
There's a book for it. I mean, obviously,
There are
people
books-
know
there's
about the
There's a
book,
book for Logan.
but I don't know.
It's a comic book.
Well, what I am implying
X-Men
is the characters are all built inside of it. We've seen them before in 1990, but this is a different incarnation. This is a reboot. These characters are different, and they're all built and can stand on their own. Whereas Logan, you need a bit of context to be able to enjoy it. I'm not saying it's not a great film and that it didn't smash the box office, but I'm saying I don't think as a standalone it's the greatest movie of 2017.
I'm worried. So you said my film relies on context before. I think it relies on context after, like stuff that's happening in the next movie, like to be the greatest film of 2017.
I think it.
That's
I
also
think it
true,
clears.
yeah.
I think it. No, I don't
like, who's
agree with that.
Who's
It can
Pennywise?
end.
What does Pennywise do? Like, where's he from?
He goes away.
Uh,
That is the
what?
mystery
There's
of it.
Like, that. Oh, okay.
End.
I win.
Go time.
And yeah. Okay. We'll start with Jacob.
Oh my, yeah. I think Logan is the greatest film of 2017 so far because of how raw of a superhero film it is. It took the Deadpool concept of being rated R and translated it to violence and Deadpool did that, but it made it very real as opposed to kind of the fabricated PG-13 action we're used to seeing, and it was a great way to end a character story.
And Nevin.
So like I said before, this is a real movie. It has a different takes, things from multiple perspectives, classic, something Christopher Nolan would do. Another thing I want to point out is that Dunkirk, it was number 11 best movie of 2017 on Esquire, where the other two were not even mentioned. And I looked on multiple lists, and I couldn't find anywhere it or Logan were mentioned, whereas Dunkirk was on all of them. May have not been very high, which doesn't make any sense because there were some movies I'd never even heard of that were very high. But yeah, grossed 400 million and made 500 million worldwide.
And Blake.
So I believe It was the greatest movie of 2017 and had phenomenal child actors. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise gave an incredible performance. I believe it had the biggest R-rated opening weekend of all time up until this point. Like I said, it's not built upon pre-existing actors like Hugh Jackman in Logan. We don't have like that to hinge upon. I don't believe it's similar to other horror movies the way Dunkirk is similar to other war movies. Greatest movie 2017.
Okay. Any facts to check, Vaughn?
Yes. So Blake, you mentioned that it was the biggest R-rated opening
Is it
of all
Deadpool?
time. Deadpool is
Yeah,
number
it is?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
You
number
said that, I was
two.
like, he's gonna get fact checked and be wrong.
It is number two.
It's number. Son of a. Yeah.
Okay.
Son of a boy.
Yeah. Son of a
Okay.
boy.
Let's see.
It's behind by 9 million
Dollars?
U.S. dollars. Yes.
Oh, okay. Just
9 million clams.
Just making sure. Just making sure we're on the same page here.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Oh, hey, you
I
know.
read that.
Okay. Thoughts, Morgan?
I think Blake wins this one. I think he makes more points. And then Jacob and then
Gotcha. Nick.
Blake, Nevin, then Jacob.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
I think you should let Mark decide.
Why-
the same thing. That would put it in a three-way tie.
Wow.
If it went like this.
We should do that just for the
No,
kicks.
please
No,
don't.
wait. Let's.
All right.
'Cause
We
it's
have to.
dumb, 'cause then it
Let's
just
let
comes
the
down to
man.
that none of us prepared.
Quiet!
Whoa.
I think. Yeah.
Sorry.
Was that authoritative?
You did good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'm giving first place to Blake because I thought you had the fewest attacks that held water against you. I thought you made a good case for the child actors and that it was a standalone film. I'm going to give second place.
Eat
my
my
heartbeat.
shorts.
I'm going to give second place to Jacob. Giving it to Jacob because while I do feel like you need to see the other X-Men movies to get the proper context, I also feel like he made a great case for just the movie itself in utilizing that R rating. Now I'm giving Nevin third place because he got hit with the major blow that it was a lot like Saving Private Ryan. And I consider that a major blow because if this is supposed to be the best movie of this year, why not go see Saving Private Ryan of 1995? 94. So why
03.
go see that movie this year
It came
when
out
you can
last
see
year.
when you
I
can-
saw it.
when you can see another
called
movie that it's very similar to. So what does that bring the score to?
It's a tie between Blake and Jacob at 11.
Ooh.
Whoa. Oh, that's right. That last round was double.
Do we fight each other?
Okay.
With our
Well, in
fists.
that case,
Well, can I leave?
Nevin, you got this guy.
I lose
This
every
guy.
time.
No, but you did very well. Didn't I not give you first place in the first round?
Thanks. You're talking to me like I'm a Jerry.
We only need rips here.
No, I'm just saying you did very well. You're welcome. Okay. Anywho, so speed round question.
Oh, poop.
So how does this work? Do we just?
So I'm going to tell you how this works.
Explain this.
So you're going to get
Please
30
explain it.
seconds each to argue. I'm going to give you an option. The first person to shout out the option they want gets to argue that option.
Okay.
So you don't. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh yes, and 15-second rebuttals. Thank you, Stuart. Who is the better Spock, Leonard Nimoy or Zachary Quinto?
No context.
You know.
Nope.
Yeah.
Let's skip
okay.
that one.
Yeah.
Who is?
I have not seen.
I have literally no argument.
What were the choices?
Make shit up.
What was the first choice?
Who is the better Spock, Leonard Nimoy?
Leonard Nimoy.
or Zachary Quinto?
Zachary Quinto.
No, the first one's better because he's older and a lot more acting experience. Heard the man probably has an award or two, I'm sure. The film is just the role was made for him. I don't know what else to say. I really don't.
Okay.
No, I'm fine. I don't want to say.
Okay.
Wait. Let it run out. Let it run out.
I would like my rebuttal.
You get 30 seconds of your own.
Oh, 30 seconds of my own?
Yeah.
Okay. What was his name? Zachary I believe that he was the better Spock. I believe he was probably in the new movies, the new Star Trek movies. I'm pretty sure they were well received. A lot of lens flares from what I've heard. Never seen them. I just really believe that he kicks the crap out of Leonard Nimoy.
Nimoy. That's not it. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is.
How did I lose?
To be honest, I just think you're trash.
Dare I say?
I would like my rebuttal.
15-second rebuttals.
Jacob first.
I think your haircut looks silly, and I don't.
I just got it cut.
I don't like your answer.
Okay. Time for your 15-second rebuttal.
Let it run.
I'm ready for it.
You are incorrect, and I hate you.
You know what? I have one fact.
Was I right?
Please.
He won 9 awards.
I think I'm going to give it to Jacob just because he stated a fact. He stated a fact.
Okay, I'm gonna claim the next one.
Okay,
is no
well,
next-
that
There's no next
that,
one?
that wraps it up.
That's it? That was the
Yeah,
speed
you
round?
got second.
Thank you, thank you, Blake, Nevin, and Jacob for I guess
That was Cardinal Film Fights?
that was Cardinal.
No,
Film
that was a
Fights.
shit show.
If you've got any
Sorry, was
questions,
that not-
because I know I do, or certain topics you want us to debate, leave us a comment or tell us on our website. Remember to hit that subscribe button, and if you like today's fight, share us on social media or anti-social media. We don't discriminate. Thank you. Have a good night.
What just happened?